Hey Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown covering the Northeast trail running world for the week ending September 16th, 2021. Hopefully this finds you all doing pretty well. I am pretty stoked to be through the past 2 weekends. They were great, they went well, but they were also very tiring and stressful at the same time. I put on the Ithaca Half Marathon a couple weekends ago. Thankfully we had a really beautiful weather day, maybe around 600 runners or so. And but a lot of changes and stresses and modifications, and maybe a third of our field culled before the race to roll over to next year for COVID concerns and considerations. But it went pretty well. And then this past weekend I put on the Virgil Crest Ultras, one of my first races that I put on, but that I put to bed in I think 2015 after I think it was 8 years. And I just needed a break. I was tired, I was burned out, and just needed to step away for a bit. Brought it back this year. I think COVID may be a little sentimental, and I've had a number of people who've continued to just relay that they were really sorry that they missed their opportunity to take one more crack at Virgil. It's a tough event. There were some weather years where we had some heavy rainfall, which really made for, I think 1 year, maybe it was like an 18% finish rate or something to that effect, given that there was already on top of a really tough course. But it's just, yeah, it is what it is. It has some steep ups, some steep downs, and it's just tough. This year, the course that I reconfigured, also going in, had several changes, some COVID related, some just trying to figure out the scaling the event a bit to increase numbers. I think I've registered maybe 258, and that's because I had a cap on it of 250. I think we came in with somewhere around maybe 225, and we had maybe, I don't know, 150 finishers between the events, give or take. Also had a beautiful weather weekend, and thankfully it went pretty well. Huge thanks to really the crews and individuals that make it possible at all, whether it be the Trails Rock crew out of Rochester for manning the Hurt Locker and the staging area. Huge thanks for that 36-hour effort out of your crew, on top of helping with Cayuga Trails, Twisted Branch, putting on your own events. I know it's a big lift, so thank you for that. The Finger Lakes Runners Club at Hope Lake, thank you to you out there, the Cortland Fire Department crew, and some others out of Binghamton or BAPS, the BATS crew, Binghamton Area Trail Runners. Thank you for your help with the gravel pit. The Central Rocking Through the Night crew at an aid station JK's Crossing is the Rebellion Running out of the Elmira Corning area, as well as the SOAR Youth Running crew. They were just rock stars. Can't say enough about your energy, and you also pulling off a 36-hour shift. So to so many that made it possible, thank you. And we're going to dig into Virgil here a bit more tonight, or with this episode. So I am stoked to be over the hump of both of those races, and for some continued great weather. So we've got a pretty full episode tonight. I am really stoked to have a number of awesome voices in the mix this evening, or I keep saying this evening, whenever you're watching it, for this episode. I'm going to take you through some of the events that ran in the Northeast, from Virginia through to Maine and states in between, as well as a couple international ones taking you to the mountains and lakes of Wales, as well as up into the reaches of Quebec. So I am stoked, and yeah, hopefully you get something out of the number of individuals that are going to be speaking in this episode here. So I'm going to take you through just a few of the events at UltraSignUp Hotlist, just in case you are looking for some events, and just to give you the heads up before they sell out or cap out. And then I'm going to go right into results. There weren't really any FKTs that were posted at fastestknowntimes.com in the Northeast this week. And then I just didn't get a chance to dig into events coming up. Just had too much on the plate this week. But it is going to be a long episode as it is. So hopefully it's a good one. UltraSignUp Hotlist. In Connecticut, the Mid-State Massive Ultras 100-miler is 94% full with 8 spots remaining. It's a sweet New England course with mild elevation gain, and it's slated for October 9th. Now would be the time to get into that. In Maryland, the Patapsco Valley 50K, slated for October 30th outside of Baltimore, has only 17 slots remaining and will cap out. This is one that I was lucky enough to jump into beginning of COVID, maybe the fall of 2019, somewhere in there. Maybe it's 2020, I don't know. But it was a great course, pretty mild, as I mentioned, pretty flowy, nice single track, and an awesome resource for outside of Baltimore. So check that out. It is going to sell out here pretty soon. And in Massachusetts, the Stonecat 50K running November 6th in Ipswich, Mass. It's only 73% full at the moment with 75 slots remaining. But I'm giving you the early heads up as I think this classic should and will cap out. So go ahead and get on that now if you're interested in a 50K in Mass in November. All right, so let's get into the results. I will take you state by state here and what we've got, and then cap with some of the two international ones. So let's start with Connecticut. Tunxis Trail Ultramarathon 30K 60K ran in Burlington, Connecticut. Was able to check in with Jamie McCusker, and she is here to weigh in on the course, the entities putting it on, and how the races shook out, including a course record on the day. So Jamie, take it away.
Hi, I'm Jamie McCusker, the race director for the Tunxis Trail Ultramarathon. We had a great time in Burlington this Sunday. For our fifth running, the weather was perfect, the course was in great shape, and the runners were fast. Tunxis is organized by the Burlington Land Trust and the Connecticut Trail Mixers, and is the Land Trust's yearly largest non-membership fundraiser. We race on the Tunxis Trail Network in Burlington, Connecticut, which is part of the Connecticut Forest and Park Association's Blue Blaze Trail System. Tunxis has almost 40 miles of trails in Burlington alone, and we were able to design a 30K looped course unlike any other. Volunteers staffed 5 aid stations, letting runners race a huge course with minimal load. This year, we had 25 runners compete in the 30K and 60K distances. In the 30K, our male winner is Juan Chacon of Norwich, Connecticut. Juan took a crack at the men's 30K course record with a time of 3 hours 57 seconds, but fell a few minutes short. Chris Murphy of West Hartford, Connecticut came in second with 3 hours 16 minutes 22 seconds. On the women's side, Brittany Telke of neighboring Bristol, Connecticut, won the women's 30K with a time of 3:29:42, setting a new course record by almost 6 minutes. Brittany also showed that she still had kick by edging out men's third place finisher Jonathan Pinsence of Cranston, Rhode Island by 3 seconds. Laura Becker of Manchester, Connecticut also beat Stacy Clark's course record with a finish of 3:35:35. Stacy, the gauntlet's been thrown. You need to try for that again. Kelsey Ang rounded out the women's top 3 with a time of 3:52:19. She's definitely a beast on the downhills when I ran with her. In the 60K, we had something new happen this year. Normally, we lose a fair number of 60K runners to timeouts or fatigue. Even though only 3 60K runners started this year, that trend continued. Our first place finisher was our only finisher, Devin Prey of West Hartford, Connecticut. Devin had a time of 9:21:47, a stout effort on a tough course. Our 2 women, Kumiko Hart of Brooklyn, New York, and Holly Durston of Norfolk, Connecticut, both timed out on their first lap. Results, as always, are posted on UltraSignUp, and you can visit our Facebook page, Tunxis Trail Ultramarathon, for more highlights. You can also visit burlingtonlandtrust.org to become a member of the Land Trust, and to find the Connecticut Trail Mixers on Facebook to learn more about our races. I'm Jamie McCusker, and I'll see you on the trail.
So right on. So thanks so much, Jamie, and hopefully I can share some miles with you if I can get out to Connecticut at some point here. And the other one that went down in Connecticut was the Macedonia Trail Race, 12K, 25, 50K. This is one that also had the opportunity with one of my daughters to run also a year or 2 ago, and really also enjoyed the course. It had also really non-technical, beautiful, flowy trails with one just fun, scrambling, technical pitch in the mix with some ridge running and some beautiful overlooks. If you haven't run Macedonia, I highly recommend it. It was a well-done event. Again, a beautiful course. And here's a clip with Kelly Way providing the race recap for Steep Endurance.
Hey Ian and Trails Collective community, Kelly here, covering race recap for Steep Endurance's Macedonia Trail Race held this past Sunday. So I'm actually standing right in front of Lake Waramag, which borders 4 towns. One of them is Kent, where the race is held. It was, we ran right through Macedonia Brook State Park, lush forests, really nice single track trails. There were three distances that raced, three separate distances of 12K, 25K, and 50K. I think, and roughly 130 runners across all three distances on Sunday. I know Ian and daughter Marin ran the 12K last year and had a great time, and as far as I could tell, everyone also had a pretty good time on Sunday. It was quite warm, but we were well hydrated. Brian took really good care of us. The aid stations were great, and just good vibes all around. I raced the 25K as a tune-up for Vermont 50 coming up, but most notably I ended up having to drop because in hilarious fashion I somehow ended up running 4 extra miles within the first 12K loop and decided to make the prudent decision to drop at the time. But it was fun. I raced well with the Chaseback men, and it looked like from the results that were posted in terms of times, I may or may not have been able to crash the podium.
Woo!
Johnny's behind the lens here. Johnny came in second at the 25K, and we believe Ian Connell actually took down the course record for the 25K course this year by like 4 or 5 seconds. So way to go, Ian. Sherry also ran the second fastest time for the 12K on Sunday. Yeah. What else? The steep endurance, the Macedonia Trail Race is a part of the Blue Blaze Hiking Trail Racing Series here in Connecticut, which for those unfamiliar, are races run entirely, if not in part, on the Blue Blaze Trail system here in Connecticut. And for those who are not familiar, again, these are trails that are pretty technical in nature, very hilly, kind of rocky, rooty, so your typical Beast Coast type terrain. And Steep Endurance is known for hosting a lot of races, over hilly courses and with some very steep climbs mixed in. And that certainly was the case on Sunday. The most notable feature of the race was obviously the ascent up Cobble Mountain. It was, some pretty big boulders and rock faces, and I saw a number of runners just channel their inner Alex Honnold and free soloed up the mountain. I know for the 50K runners, they had to contend with the ascent up Cobble Mountain 3 times, which was a little hard. And by the third ascent, I think para hiking became the strategy of the day. Overall, I imagine everybody had a good time. Trail running is awesome, as we all know. If you are ever in doubt of steep endurance races, doubt no more. I've raced a number of them and volunteered at one as well recently, the Mountain Lakes Backyard Ultra. Brian knows how to put on a good race. Everyone has a good time. It's fun, and if you're looking for a fun trail race challenge, look no further and go check out Steep Endurance. Thanks so much, Ian, and see you guys on the trails.
All right, so thanks so much, Kelly, and nice work, Brian, on another, sounds like, well-done event. All right, moving on to Mass. The Notchview Ultra 12/24/48 hour in Windsor. Notchview has been running since 2015. The event makes use of what looks like a beautiful 1.9-mile loop, and proceeds in part go to animal shelters in the area. This year's race saw wins going to Jesse Michaela with 129 miles for the 48-hour, a new overall course record, besting Bill Odendahl's 2019 mark by 6 miles. Benjamin Szymanski with 108 and May Polson with 100.7, both for the 24-hour wins and new course records. And Durgesh Menkenkar in 77.7 miles, and Emily Kasicki with 59 miles in the 12-hour. Emily's mark of technically 58.9 miles also establishes a new course record. So nice work to all of you at Notchview. And then moving up into Maine, the Wicked Tough 10K and the Megunticook 50, or the 50K in Camden, Maine. And I was, well, actually, let's give you a couple of results here. The 50K saw 69 finishers with Kyle Kruger and Kerry McCusker earning the overall wins in 5:30 and 6:56 respectively. And in the Wicked Tough 10 of 39 finishers, Chad Hanscom and Laurel Godot earned the wins in 1:04 and 1:10 respectively. And then here to dig into Megunticook and the Wicked Tough 10K, the backstory on these beautiful events to add a bit of color. 50K veteran and co-promoter, Trail Runners of Midcoast Maine founder, Emily McDevitt.
Hey there, everyone. Hey, my name is Emily McDevitt, and I am the founder of Trail Runners of Midcoast Maine. Got my shirt on. But I'm here to talk to you about the Megunticook 50K and the Wicked Tough 10K, which was this past weekend here in Camden, Maine at the Camden Hills State Park. This race, which was held on Saturday, September 11th, is one of the most incredible races I believe that exists in the Northeast. This is a little video for the Trails Collective. Thank you for asking us on some really fun events that happened in the Northeast over the weekend. So I want to show you something here. Oh, that's me. That's me. That is not this year though. This year I didn't run, I volunteered. But last year I did run. And that is a picture of me finishing the 50K, which is what you'll look like if you do it next year. Super, super happy. This race was, it's only in its second year. Last year was its first year, believe it or not. During the pandemic year, this race was formulated by two incredible individuals, the Hirschfelds. David and Tammy are the race directors, and they know a little bit about running ultras. David has done some like 300-mile thing across the Arctic. Tammy's done 50Ks. They're incredible individuals, and when they want to do something, they get it done. When they met with me in the fall of 2019 and said they had this idea of doing an ultra in Camden Hills State Park, I thought, what? How would that even happen? I met with them, and it turns out they had already got a date, they already had a plan, they had all the wheels in motion, so to speak. So they were looking for Trail Runners of Midcoast Maine to collaborate. And so we did, and that's, I'm speaking to you as a collaborator. In this second year of this event, starts off with a 10K, 50K together. There are 50 racers that do the 10K and a maximum of 150 that can do the 50K. This year, there were 76 50K finishers, somewhere in the high 40s for the 10K. And again, second year only. The weather was spectacular both years. The first year, it was dry and perfect. This year, it had rained about 3 inches all day Thursday, Friday night. And so our racers this year were traversing not only single track trails through the Camden Hills State Park, which is, as the website says, brutal, beautiful. And that is 100% true. You start off with some pavement, just a little tiny bit of pavement. Don't be afraid. And it takes you across the road, you see the ocean, and then you come back across the road, past everyone at the state park start, and you head up the Mount Batty Auto Road. That is all the pavement you're gonna see. The rest is dirt, rocks, roots, single track, elevation, 7,600 feet of elevation on this route by the time you're done. And let me tell you, you will feel it, but you will also not feel it because the views are so incredible. If you have a moment and check out this year's, the photography is amazing for all years of this event. Last year, Jo Mackey was one of the photographers. She was a racer this year. She did the 50K. And so we had the pleasure of having Joe Vigier. I hope I said that right, Joe. Check out his Joe Vigier photography and you will see incredible images and you'll know what I'm talking about. Ooh, I'm down to 1 minute. Okay, so the swag is great for this event. I have a little bit to show you. There are, look at this. Ooh, picnic blankets. There are satchels. The t-shirts are amazing. But the run, you guys, the run, 50K, you're out there, you see everything, the ocean, you see mountains, you see birds, you see roots, rocks, you see other runners. The volunteers are incredible. Trail Runners of Midcoast Maine represents. We help set up the course. We're out there at the aid stations. We're out there helping you along. It's amazing. Don't miss it, you guys. 2022 is gonna sell out. There's no doubt. The word is out about this event. It's worth a weekend in Camden, Maine. We have one of the sweetest towns on the coast of Maine. Come visit us. Check out the website, Megunticook50.com, and don't miss it next year. It's amazing. Thanks.
So Megunticook looks beautiful, right above the rugged coastline up there in Maine. It's definitely on my my list. If we continue to go on Virgil, it's tough to hit some of these. Kismet was also on my list coming up, but it's just tough to make it work with event schedules. But if I can make it work, that's definitely one I want to check out. So if you are looking for a beautiful 50K or 10K up in New England and particularly Maine, definitely give that one a look. All right, Trail Monsters, Bradbury Bruiser 12 mile in Pownell, Maine, profiled by R. Ian and the crew as a crazy, twisting, turning 12-mile loop of single-track trails filled with rocks, roots, bumps, and hills. They had a solid turnout with 134 finishers, with Jacob Brady for the overall win in 124, and Bridget Smith-Franey for the women in 136. All right, moving back down to New York. We have the Shawangunk Ridge Trail Run Half, 30 mile, 70 mile in Rosendale, New York. The SRT is an absolutely beautiful and rugged event. For those who haven't spent any time in the Shawangunks, the Shawangum, really striking and beautiful, particularly in the mountain lakes area around Minnewaska State Park. Truly just remarkable. I highly recommend checking out this event, but if not the event, just stopping in, going for a day hike, a day run, whatever it might be, hang out in New Paltz for the day. Really cool New York town and area. The uniqueness of the event, it adds no supplemental markers on top of what's already in place for the SRT, and it is self-supported. So to dig us further into what SRT is all about, RD Ken Posner.
Hey Ian, thanks so much for reaching out, and hello everybody. My name is Ken Posner. I'm the race director for the Shawangunk Ridge Trail, or the SRT race, which we just held this last weekend. And we had a great event. We had just a tremendous event this year, and we'll hope you guys will come out and join us next year. So let me give you a quick introduction to the SRT if you've never heard of it. The SRT stands for Shawangunk Ridge Trail. The Shawangunks are a mountain range in southern New York. I think the Shawangunks are the most spectacular part of New York. We've got a mountain range that sits 2,000 feet above the Hudson Valley. We've got 100-mile views. We've got stunning white cliffs. We've got mountain lakes. In one section, the trail dips into the valley, extensive wetlands. It's almost like there's no mile on the course that is the same as any other. We've got waterfalls. We even have a rock scramble at one point and a little bit of a rock squeeze. So it's a really adventurous trail. It's very runnable in some places, and it is very technical in other places. So it's a wild mix of things in the most beautiful part of southern New York. And all of our divisions are point-to-point traverses on the ridgeline. So we've got a 70-miler, we've got a 30-miler, and we've got a half marathon division. So let me tell you a little bit about the race. It is different from other trail races in that it's a minimalistic or unsupported event. So first of all, we don't mark the course. Now the SRT is on trails, but it sort of hopscotches among different local trails, so the blazes change color, and it's easy to get off course. To make life easy, we give people a map app so you can just at the push of a button see exactly where you are. We also have search and rescue teams standing by, and it always happens that somebody ends up getting seriously confused and the search teams have to go out and find them, but nobody's ever gotten permanently lost. Also, we don't provide aid at the checkpoints. The checkpoints are for safety and accountability. If you're somebody who needs gummy bears or donut holes or whatever it is that keeps you going, you need to bring them yourself. There are a lot of great races out there that have fully stocked aid stations, but the spirit here is more the spirit of self-reliance. We're looking for people who can manage themselves across the terrain, who are mindful about where they are, paying attention to where they are in the course. It's often the case that the fastest runner does not necessarily win the race, but rather it's the runner who's fast and paying attention and able to manage themselves that wins the SRT in our different divisions. So let me tell you a little bit about this year's results. We had a spectacular event this year. We were lucky with the weather. It was perfect conditions. It was a beautiful weekend. For the 70-mile division, we had 21 starters and 15 finishers. And a big shout out to Russ Drescher, who set a new male course record in 16 hours, 22 minutes. and Kaitlin Rhodes, who set a new female course record in 19 hours and 12 minutes. For the 30-mile race, we had a really high finishing rate, 75 starters, 74 finishers. We were just delighted with that. Kate Mingle set a new female course record of 6 hours and 3 minutes. And I want to give a special shout out to Sue Mitra from the Boston area. Sue ran the 30-mile division entirely barefoot. And on the rocky trails and the Schwangunks, that is an incredible accomplishment. So Sue did an awesome job. On the half marathon, we had 67 starters, 64 finishers. And Vanessa Shea set a new female course record of 2 hours and 28 minutes. So we'll have the race again next year, probably the second weekend of September. We hope you guys can join us. And Ian, thank you so much for reaching out.
All right, so nice work, Ken. And another individual who we are very lucky to have a clip in from is Kaitlin Rhodes. Katie she's pretty incredible. I only have spoken to her once here by phone ahead of checking in for this clip. But she was on my radar. I think I announced her last year in, I think, at least one weekly rundown episode. But she's a New York State mountain guide, co-holder of the Adirondack 46 Women's Unsupported Mark with Bethany Gerritsen in 7 days and change. She's a co-founder and owner of a sweet-sounding natural and performance foods company, and it sounds like an all-around swell-sounding individual. So I'm grateful for this clip introing her further. I think she's a name you're going to hear more from, and digging into what was her first formal trail race in the Burley SRT 70, and which I think is a great match and great fit for her. So Kaitlin, or Katie, take us deeper in.
Hi, my name's Katie Rhodes. I'm here in my homestead just west of Saratoga Springs, New York, where I'm based out of. A little about me, I'm a New York State guide. I'm the president of Adirondack Mountain Rescue, which is a local volunteer-based search and rescue team. I'm also the owner of Toganola Snack Company. We make granola and granola products primarily for outdoor adventurers, which is great for me as a mountain athlete. That's something I get to use on my training runs and on my races. Oats are an awesome source of nutrients during those events. Some people may have heard of me from this past September when I completed the unsupported 46 through hike FKT with my partner Bethany Gerritsen. We were the first and currently only women to complete that FKT. And that's really where my athletic journey started. I never considered myself an athlete before that. And after recovering from that event in March of this year, I decided maybe I'll try getting serious about trail running. And that's when I started my running journey. Just recently, I ran my first trail race on September 10th and 11th. Really happy to report that I became the first female to finish, second overall, and was able to set a course record by just over 4 hours. So that was a huge deal for me, a huge confidence booster. The SRT, the Shawangunk Ridge Trail, which is the race that I completed, it's an amazing course. It's completely unsupported, which fits with my type of adventures, my type of events that I really like, which are, very minimalist, Spartan, kind of rugged events. I also thrive on, technical single track terrain, and there was quite a bit of that. But the nice thing was, as soon as your body got fatigued from that, you were switching onto things like gravel roads for a little while. So kind of flipped back and forth and gave you those little breaks that you needed to continue. And the camaraderie in this race was just absolutely fantastic. So I just really enjoyed it, highly recommend it to anyone. It was my first and only trail race so far, but if they all come out like this, then I'm going to be really excited. My race itself, I started really conservatively. This was my first race, so I didn't really know what to expect. Set a super conservative pace, got to see sunset to start, which was beautiful. Around checkpoint 2, I actually found out that I was leading the pack, which freaked me out a little bit. I thought, oh no, maybe I'm pacing incorrectly, but I felt really good, and so I just continued to kind of ride the wave and have fun with it and pace with other folks on trail, which was just so much fun. I'd never had that experience before. Throughout the night, I spent a lot of the night solo, so we started at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, ran through the night and into the next day, and it was just really peaceful. It was a clear day. The stars were absolutely gorgeous, just twinkling in the night. And then I showed up at checkpoint 3 around 4:15 a.m. and was held for 45 minutes. That's one of the interesting and unique things about this course is Minnewaska State Park doesn't open until 5 a.m. So if you get there too early, you do get held, and you kind of have to figure out how do you play that portion of the race. For me, it was beautiful. 45 minutes was perfect. I got a nice rest in, just got my pack organized, things like that, got some food in my stomach. From there, they release you at 5 a.m. and you immediately start a steep climb up to Sam's Point. And that was fantastic because the way the timing played out with my pacing, I got sunrise right as I crested Sam's Point. And it was just gorgeous running into the sunrise. I was solo at that point and just, thriving on that experience. So lots of fun technical terrain as you go into Minnewaska. And then cruising out the other side, I ended up finishing in 19 hours and 12 minutes. I completed this run in part as a fundraiser for 46 Climbs. So that's an event that happens every September. You commit to climbing a certain mountain or a set of summits or trail that you're physically capable of safely doing. And it's meant to encourage folks to donate to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I lost my brother in 2011 to suicide, and so this is a fundraiser that means a lot to me. And so I ran with the 46 Climbs logo on my pack, and it's something that I thought about a lot throughout the day. It gave me a lot of strength. So if mental illness and suicide awareness and prevention are something that are important topics to you, I do encourage you to go to the website and donate. You can go to 46climbs.com and look for Team Excelsior. My name will be listed and you can donate directly to me. Or you can find me on Instagram at Roads and Trails, Roads like my last name, and the link is in my bio. Thank you to anyone who donates, and thanks for listening.
So Katie, congrats again on that finish, on that run, that effort, that new course record. For those of you who haven't maybe tasted it yet, particularly if you're in the Albany, New York area, check out Toganola Foods. I haven't yet tried any of their products yet, but looking forward to doing just that. All right, and the one that I introed with in New York here was my Virgil Crest. I shouldn't say my. It truly takes a whole village, so to speak. But the Virgil Crest Ultras in Virgil or Cortland, New York. I have a number of clips here. It's going to be a deep dive into Virgil. Virgil is really just a beast. It really does. Man, it's really mixed because you get some really runnable footing, but you get such steep ups and downs. Cumulative, I think, for the 100-miler, depending on what software you use. Strava, I think, has it at 24,600 feet, maybe, paired with in an adverse weather year. It's truly tough. For those seasoned, it definitely eats its young. You got to be, you got to know what you're getting into. But with that said, in all of the years that I've put on Virgil, I think that was 9 years now, I think a remarkable thing is that I haven't seen a significant difference in the chance of finish between a first-timer or a seasoned vet. Really, you can have the day can really shake out in any number of directions. And I also haven't seen necessarily it synced with the overall level of fitness of an individual. Those historically, some have come in not really being that fit, but if you can move quick enough, if you're a strong enough hiker, and most importantly, if you can just not give up, if you just hang in there, you can potentially see it through. So it's cool to shake that out. So I'm going to play a number of clips here. I am going to lead in, let's see, let's start with the, we're going to go 50K to 50 mile and up to the 100 mile. Let's start with my good friend Chris Cowden. Chris ran the 50K, and I especially wanted a clip from him just because when he finished, and he'll comment in his clip here, I think he just gave me the head nod, like no way, not again, and maybe the middle finger. And but there's also, I think, a sense of depletion and satisfaction. So to a certain extent, I think that's what Virgil's about, and so he hit it. So Chris, cue us into your day and experience with Virgil Crest 50K.
Hi there, my name is Chris Cowden, and I ended up being the overall winner at the Virgil Crest 50K this past weekend. This was my first experience with Virgil. I didn't really know too much about the course. I knew there was going to be a lot of climbing, but I went into it pretty blind. I had kind of been fairly consistent with my training leading up to this. Had just recently run the Finger Lakes 50K and just kind of kept my miles up. So I was adequately prepared, I would say, for the 50K to race it. So like I said, I went into it kind of blind, went out kind of cautiously. I had gotten unfortunately lucky, and the reason it's unfortunately is a couple of my best buds were supposed to run it with me, and for various reasons they ended up not being able to. But what that did for me was ended up with them being able to crew for me. So it was unfortunate, but it was lucky for me. So when I went out, I had them there crewing. So I went out, like I said, pretty conservatively, just kind of wanting to feel out the course and see what I was getting myself into. And when I looked at my watch at about 3/4 of a mile in, and had realized that we had climbed over 700 feet by that point, I was kind of aware what I was getting myself into for the day, and decided, at this point, I might as well just commit to going as hard as I can and seeing what I can do. I wasn't really thinking about where I was in the field at that point or winning or anything like that, but I had committed at that point to just kind of go hard and see what happened. And then I missed a turn briefly early on. It was probably maybe around the 5K mark or something. We had come up and crested this really nice vista, and I was daydreaming a bit, and then I heard the guy behind me yelling to me, and I turned around and I had missed a left-hand turn into the woods. So I don't know how far I would have gotten before I realized there were no flags, but I certainly would have gone further than that. So much appreciation to him for being back there and giving me a heads up. But I got back on course, and then I rolled into the first aid station and did not see my crew. And what they apparently had done is set the cooler down for me, but had gone up the wrong trail to greet me early on, and I was coming in on a different trail. So when I rolled in there, I didn't see them. I didn't see my cooler, but there were a lot of cars and people around, so I kind of just figured that I'd keep going and that they would probably pop up around the corner or something, which they never did. So I had made the mistake of going out with nothing on me, no nutrition, nothing other than water. Because I was expecting that they would be at every aid station, and when they weren't, I started to get a little worried because I realized that I could possibly get 15 miles in with no calories because I had bypassed the first aid station completely. But it turned out that they were short. They found me shortly after that, and we got back on track. And again, it just solidified for me at that point that I was just going to push until I couldn't. So I ran hard the rest of the day, really, and things went pretty well. The amount of steep climbing was honestly pretty annoying. I was over it early on, but I never really let it get into my head too much. Just kind of kept my attitude positive and kept pushing. Once I knew that I was actually in first place, that motivated me a little bit more, and just kind of kept my head down and go. I crossed the finish line, and Ian was standing there, and I didn't say much to him. I think my initial reaction to him was I put my hands on my knees, looked up at him, and flipped him off. And he thought that was pretty funny, and I think he said something like, yeah, I'll take that. So that was my recognition of the course that he had set out for us there for those Virgil Crest Ultras. I also told him that I think I set a record for saying this is stupid. I must have uttered that to myself, I don't know, maybe 100 times out there, because like I said, climbing, those type of climbs are just not my cup of tea, and it was fun, but it was I was done with it for sure when I got across the finish line. But overall, it was a great event. Course was really nice, really good condition. It was very runnable when you could, and the overall event was awesome. So I definitely recommend it to anybody. That's a beast of a course, and it certainly ain't for sissies, as the tagline says. So much appreciation to everybody out there. My respects certainly to everybody that did the longer distances, over 50K, because I can't even imagine being out there any longer than I had to be. So happy to come out of there with the overall win in the 50K. I wasn't really expecting that. So thank you to Ian and Red Newt Racing and all the volunteers and all the competitors out there for a really cool day and a really cool event.
So great job, Chris. It was great to have you in the mix, and good run. Let's move up to the 50 mile. Another good friend, Jim Blandford, out of PA. Many of you may know Jim. All around wonderful individual and family. Volunteers for a number of events. I think had over a million feet of vertical climbing, I think, last year. So just a total animal in his own right. He's run Virgil 100 mile once, as well as 50 mile a couple times. And so he knows what he's getting into. And here's my post-race few minute clip here with Jim Blandford.
I know.
Jim Blandford, where are you from?
Hamburg, PA.
Hamburg, PA. And you've run Virgil a couple times.
Yep, 3 times.
3 times.
Finished 100, DNF'd 100, did the 50 the second year, went down to the 50, and then entered the 50 the third year.
And the year you DNF'd the 100, I mean, you were still in the running, right? I mean, you were still going for it.
Yep, and I got tricked into just sitting down in my brain. I was just like, I just had enough that day and wanted to sit down and call it a day.
That could be a pretty strong impulse there.
Yeah. So I always wonder, like, if it wouldn't have been an out and back course, if I would have kept going. I don't know.
Right, because then you're back home and you get cozy, and I
right.
don't have to go anywhere.
And
I'm already back.
And the lodge is right there.
Yep. And so you somewhat knew what to expect, and the
somewhat. Yes.
Somewhat, right. I mean, I guess I change it virtually every year on you, so you kind of know.
Yes.
What do you think versus prior years?
Well, prior years we started at Hope Lake, and we had a lot of, I would say, flatter running right at the start, so you could get out and get your legs stretched right away. This year we had a little bit of a surprise with about probably like a 700-800 foot climb in 0.75. It was it was a nice surprise, and those little sections had to just zigzagged up the bike path all the way up, and you're probably hitting at least 30% grade on a lot of those twists and turns. So it was, it put you into hiking mode right away, and it was nice to do that. Just once you got it in your head to realize, okay, we got this big climb, and let's just get to the top and see what's next.
And were you packed up for that initial climb? Were you with like Cole or Andrew or others, or what?
Yeah, I was right up front. I wanted to stay up front for as long as I could, and then got up top and just made a little bit of we went straight down the hill a little bit further than we should have, just missed a turn
down the ski slope.
Yes.
Yep.
We didn't shoot into the right, and then we got back on the trail, and then I'm not sure, I was probably maybe 5th at that point then, and dropped back a little bit. But that's part of the Virgil experience.
Right.
And you just got to watch your turns. I mean, they're marked. It's just.
But the minute you tune out, or the minute you're talking to somebody else, or take your eye off of it, and that's hard, right? I mean, part of me is like, crap. Like, do we just need to completely insanely mark this? But then the reality is, like, we can't close off those other trails. I can't block it. I'll piss off ATVs. Suddenly they'll be going after our course markers.
Right.
So then you're left in that middle ground of, there's a lot of markers out there, but you know at some point somebody will miss it.
Right. And you just got to really be aware of what you're doing and not following people. You have to be in charge of yourself out there and not get hooked in that train thinking everybody else. And I was even talking to some guy that was right behind me. It's like, you know, you can follow me, but know where you are and you pay attention. And I mean, the course is marked. All the turns are marked. It's not like they're marked, not marked. You just gotta
not overrun them.
Right.
Yeah. So then, how to shake out from there? A couple climbs were good out of the gate, and then how'd your day go from there?
I felt great the whole day. I was kept wondering how the 100-milers were ahead of me, but then you got Andrew Simpson and
Cole and Dan.
And Cole and Dan. So we were all kind of together off and on in the beginning, and then the 200-milers just boom, they were gone. It's like, and I felt I was running, you know, my effort. I'm so happy with my effort. My time is a little slower than other years, but I think the course was a little harder. I think Andrew came in, he was saying maybe around 9 hours for the 50 mile, and I was 10:25. And I think my effort and in and out of the aid stations, Karen had me in and out. I don't think I could run it much faster than I've done. So I was really happy with everything. I really didn't have any really down moments other than just, you know, dealing with the normal pain of an ultra, and the steepness of the downs. You know, your foot is just slamming the front of your shoes the whole time. So that's a, you know, I don't always run super steep stuff like that over and over for that long. So that, you know, it's a little bit of an adjustment. Just, you know, the pain's going to be there.
And I guess that's just the difference. Like, I mean, you do a ton of climbing, probably more so than I would say probably anybody in that field. But you're right. I mean, I guess a lot of your climbing, I mean, it's just the difference of like the 10 or 15 degrees in pitch.
Right. Yeah. If I'm doing 13 to 15 over and over, but here you come in now, you're going down 30 at some spots. It's a big change. It's you know, it's different.
And that kind of, I mean, you mentioned it a bit when we were talking before, but I guess that's just a characteristic of Virgil where, yes, there's a lot of flowy terrain between, but then where you get most of your elevation, it's just steep pitches.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And ski slopes are always just brutal. They're just ripped up. They're not smooth like a nice packed dirt road. It's even the downhills. It's a nice road, but then it's just rocky and just trying to find a path in between the rocks and the washouts. Yeah, it's just you just can't let it go on the down. You're like holding back on the downs, but yeah, that's what makes it great at a ski slope. It's tough running.
Do you have a favorite part of the course out there that you can kind of hone in or remember? Is there any specific spots that you're like?
My favorite's probably just sitting down at the finish.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of runnable stuff. I found myself just sometimes just in other races, I just couldn't wait to get to one of the steeper hills to hike, because there's still a lot of running, even though with the amount of elevation of 11,500, 12,000 feet of climb for the 50, there's still a lot of runnable stuff that if your legs are okay, there's, you know, you have it there to run to make up stuff. So favorite,
That's right.
I guess just getting through some of the steeper drop-offs on the thinner trails on, I guess,
especially before you drop down to the creek where there's actually not a trail. I'm just fishing you through the woods. I mean, that's sloughed off and off camber and a little drop if you do happen to slip off. And
the creek crossings were great. I stuck my feet in a creek every time just to cool them off, and that was great. I like when my feet are wet, and it just works really well for me.
And no foot issues? I mean, it seems like there are a lot of people coming out with blisters.
Nope, I had no blisters at all. Nope.
And then what do you think about just you have a preference for like point-to-point courses or big loops, or what do you think of like the smaller loops or repetition, so to speak?
It doesn't bother me. I'll do any. I don't mind the out and back, the loops. It really doesn't but matter, you know. I'm looking down most of the time anyhow to just deal with the pain, so I'm not really looking around and to enjoy the views a lot. But the sunrise at the top.
I heard it was timed pretty well.
That was really beautiful. It really was. The lower cloud sitting in, and that was, since somebody else pointed that out, I probably would have missed that, but that was really nice. Yes.
Cool. Right on. Anything else you want to plug or add? Or?
I hope the course comes back next year. I really like the setting where it is this time at the ski area. Is just a little bit more room and spread out, and tons of parking. That's not an issue at the start finish, and there's food here, and just a lot of stuff going on with the mountain bikers and just everything. Yeah, I think it's a great.
Fun. I mean, it's cool to see Greek as an entity grow as well. I mean, the early years when we put it on here, I mean, you might remember when we traced the course down through the bottom, it was just like this desolate, like unkept, whatever, like venue, and now it's, and there's from the mountain bikers to like the band to the other training they had going on with the fire crews. I mean, it was cool to just see the place going off on like a random September afternoon.
Right, and then with the lodge, the Greek Peak or the Hope Lake Lodge right there. I mean, if your crew, if you don't have or people that want to really crew, they can hang out and do the whole spa thing and pool and whatever. And the kids area in the water park is a great area.
Yep. And anything else coming up for you this year?
Not that I know of right now. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
great job.
I'm real happy with what went on. Thank you.
All right, so great job again, Jim. Always wonderful to have you in the mix, and you ran tough as always. So let's move up to the 100K next. Another good friend, an individual who started out with the Trails Collective with us. Then she went back to school and has been pretty fully submerged in the academic environment. Hopefully we'll have her back on the Trails Collective in some form at some point here. But the wicked fast, the wicked tough, Ellie Pell.
Hi Trails Collective, this is Ellie. Currently in Brockport, New York. I'm actually in the Brockport College Honors Conference Room Lounge filming for you, just for all of you, because I love the East Coast. And also, coincidentally, I raced Virgil Crest Ultras this past weekend. I did the 100K distance and I finished in a time of 13 hours and 2 minutes. My experience with the race was I wasn't planning to do this actually because I wanted to do Twisted Branch, which was 3 weeks before, but didn't really happen that day for a couple of different circumstances. And so I was licking my wounds and, just licking my wounds, and thankfully Ian let me into Virgil Crest to do the first version of the 100K distance. So I was thankful to be able to use the fitness that I had from Twisted Branch, training for Twisted Branch in this race. So I'm gonna give you a lowdown of my experience and encourage you to sign up for the race if it happens next year, or better yet, volunteer for the race next year if you don't wanna run it, please. So I've been in school, so I did not camp the night before. I drove up the morning of, and because of my experience at Twisted Branch, which was so outside of my control, I remember standing at the start line like shaking because I was so nervous that what happened at Twisted Branch would happen at Virgil. And because there wasn't really anything I could do to stop that from happening. And so I was very nervous on the start line, but also really excited because I really just wanted to spend the whole day outside running with my friends in the mountains. And even though Virgil Crest, looking at the elevation profile, isn't exactly what we would consider an Ellie race, I knew exactly how I wanted to race it, meaning I just knew that when things got really steep, you start to walk. So the race went off at 6, and I, took it out like a bullet, and I sprinted the first 0.4 miles until we hit that first climb, and then started walking. And really, I tried to maintain that strategy of if it's super steep, walk. And that's a little bit harder for me to do because I don't have tons of experience with mountainous races. But I wanted to finish 100K. I didn't want to win 100K. So that was really what I kept the focus on in my mind. And also just really trying to be mindful of my quads and Oh, now I look even better. Hello. Just trying to be really mindful of my quads and hoping that they wouldn't cramp. So the race was extremely hilly. It was on a ski mountain, and so at some points I really, especially in the second half, I felt like I was going backward. I didn't even know if I was going forward, but I went from the beginning of the race being a little bit like, oh, I wish I could be running right now, but I'm hiking, to the second half of the race where I was like, I'm so mad that I have to jog here because it's not an uphill. When's the next uphill? I would like to walk. Because by the end of the race, my quads were getting pretty sore, especially on the downhills. But I told myself, you're not going to walk the downhills, Ellie. That's ridiculous. Do you. If you want to walk the downhills, that's fine. I was in pretty good spirits all day. My nutrition strategy was to eat Cliff Shots, vanilla Cliff Shots, for as long as I could until I really needed something else. And so it ended up actually working out that I ate vanilla Cliff Shots for the first half of the race, and then for the second half of the race, I ate pierogies, which was delicious. The only low moment I had really was I think it was in like the stretch of like mile 52 to like 54, I ran out of water, which really sucked. That's really for me, that's the time during a race where I get really flustered and anxious, because I just somehow, I'm like, I'm gonna die out here dehydrated, and that's just the end. Like, this is goodbye, Ellie. So I get a little bit dramatic in that way, but I made it to the aid station, drank a bunch of water, and got back and was okay. I ran pretty strong from miles 20 to 30, and 20 to 30 right now, and now with this race about 30 to 40 are pretty strong miles for me. They are in the other races that I've done, and so I usually do get into a pretty good rhythm, even if I have to walk up and down the hills, which I still did, but whenever I could run, I was running, so that felt pretty good. Obviously, in the last 15 miles is something that I had never done before, from miles 50 to 65. Is something I'd never done before, so I try to be very mindful that if you need to walk, you will walk this entire section, or if you need to stop and just like take a drink of water, or just reassess things. I was very mindful of letting myself do that, because the goal was to finish 100K. It did not matter what the time was. And really, I wish I had some great stories to tell about how I found the Lord, or I encountered wildlife that just spoke to me, or I hallucinated, but nothing like that happened. I really was just very happy to be out there, very happy my body was cooperating. I felt healthy and strong. I felt mentally there. And it was really a great experience. I'm very, very happy that this was my first 100K. Because I've heard it's supposed to be pretty hard, whatever, it's 165 miles, so that's hard anyway. And it was also just a beautiful place. I had actually never been to Greek Peak before, even though I used to live in Ithaca, and it taught me different elements that I can work on in the future to be an even better ultra runner, which is pretty cool. It's nice to finish something, feel like you gave a good effort, but also know what you can work on to be even better next time. So I encourage everybody to give it a go, and hopefully Ian can do it next year. But the way we can make that happen, everybody, is if you volunteer. I'm talking to myself too. So, congratulations to Riley, who won the 100-miler race, and Amelia, who got third, and Danielle, who got second. Congratulations, ladies. You all did so well. Thank you for letting me help you out at the end of the aid station, where I could just give you things. And I know I didn't do very much, but it made me feel very good that you let me be included. And congratulations to everybody that ran the 100-miler. That was an extremely tough race. I can't imagine doing another loop. When I was done, I was done. Even though Ian tried to get me to go out again, but no, not yet, guys, not yet. But congratulations to everybody that did it, and hopefully we will see you next year. Bye.
So Ellie ran awesome. Part of me wanted to see if I could twist her arm into just keeping going after that 100K, just shoot for her first 100 mile. She really is so tough. I think if you can find a course that's runnable in footing, particularly, it's to be seen really what she can do out there. She's raced really well at JFK, I think finishing maybe second or third. She raced well at North Face San Francisco years ago. And I'm still excited to see what she'll continue to do. So great job, Ellie. All right, let's move up to the 100 mile. Now let's start with somebody who's probably one of the closest to the race, James Lampman, or Jim Lampman, an all-around wonderful individual. Jim has pushing probably the 1,000 mile club in a number of races. He's got a lot under his belt, and he has been he has the longest streak going with the Virgil Crest 100 finishes. He's started every one. The only one he hasn't finished was year one, where he went off course, way off course. He got back on and went for it, but was just cooked. But every year since, he has finished. This year was no exception. He was riding the cutoffs late in the game, but he just made it happen. We had faith in him. We know he is a strong individual mentally and physically, and it was awesome to see him in the last few sections just turning it on and going for it. And so cueing us into the Virgil experience, Jim Lampman.
Hi, Trails Collective. My name is James Lampman, and this past weekend I did the Virgil Crest Ultras 100 mile race that took place in Virgil, New York, which is specifically Greek Peak and Virgil Mountain and adjoining Finger Lakes trails. The race hadn't happened in a number of years, since 2015, so a lot of people were highly anticipating it coming back, and had heard whisperings of it as early as last fall, and then it got confirmed this spring. And there's definitely been a lot of people that have been greatly looking forward to it finally happening. The race started in 2008. I was there in 2008 and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. I didn't finish the first year. I got lost. And I didn't get lost any year after that, and I didn't get lost this year. My feelings about the race coming back, I was very excited. Definitely because any race I've been to in the last decade plus, whenever anybody asks what my favorite races are, this is definitely one that was at the top. So very happy to have been able to run it again, and also very happy to have finished it again. Because this year had an updated course that was a little different than years past. It's all somewhat the same climbs and trails, but how many times you did the climbs and what trails you did and in what direction makes a big difference. This was probably the most challenging version of the course that I've had to run. I think a lot of people agreed throughout the day. I might not have mentioned it, but there's not just the 100 mile option of this, there's also a 100K, 50 mile, 50K, and a relay. So there was a lot of people throughout the weekend on the trail with you, and a lot of smiles all around, runners, volunteers, even those that dropped. There was just smiles everywhere and a really good vibe. It definitely had the feeling of less being a race and more being like a reunion run, because a lot of people that had done it in years past, a lot of people came back, a lot of people that had wanted to run it got to run it, a lot of people that didn't finish it got to come back and go through the challenge again. What else? The race. Yeah, everybody really wanted it to happen again. People were all about volunteering, racing. I helped with setup on Friday and packet pickup, and it was like people, I don't know, on the first day of school when they were picking up their packets. Everybody was very excited, and everybody was saying hi to everybody else. It seemed like everybody already knew everybody ahead of time, which had a very cool vibe to it. How did the race go for me? In normal fashion, I generally talk too much, and this race was no exception. I probably talked to anybody within earshot or further, and probably ran a much too relaxed pace for the first half of the race. May have fallen more behind than I would have liked, but just at a certain point decided I was finishing this. I made up a lot of time on a lot of the climbs the second half of the race. Climbs, if you did not have poles on this course, God bless you. I don't know how you did it, because poles were amazing. If you don't use poles, I would look into it. Somebody's definitely onto something with those. Kudos to Ian for sending out an email and suggesting people use poles. It was my first time ever using them in a race, and it went great. Anything else I'm missing? Do I want it to happen again? Yes. I want it to happen as many times as possible, and I will be the first to sign up any year it happens. I want to thank Red Newt Racing, all the volunteers, the various fire departments, Cortland and Virgil that helped out volunteering, search and rescue, everybody that marked the course, because the course was marked fantastic. I did not get lost. Most people, they were just running way too fast, and maybe they got lost for 100 feet or something because they blew by a turn, but everything was marked great. Ian does a great job of designing a course. Sometimes a part of the course is there just so you get a good view. And at the top of the first climb, we were delighted and greeted with a very cool sunrise right off the bat to kind of start things off. If somebody picked this race as their first race, they definitely got a challenge out of it for any of the varying distances they picked. It would be a challenging 50K, 50 mile, 50K, 100K, 100 mile, even a challenging relay. Running 10 miles really fast on this course is tough. So they had a pretty good finishing rate. I think 40 out of like 50 of the people in the 100, and a good amount of the other distances all finished, which is better than some years at that race where they may have gotten rain. We completely lucked out. We had pretty awesome temperatures during the day and evening. Through the night, I ran the whole time in t-shirt and shorts and never had to add more layers or anything. So yeah, I hope it happens as many times as possible. Thank you for everybody involved with the race, and thanks Trails Collective for letting me tell you guys a little about the event that I'm very happy happened again. Thanks.
All right, and another one in the 100 mile, an individual who looked phenomenal for, well, I should say more than all day, through the night into the next morning. I think through at least maybe like 50 mile, 100K, you might as well, it didn't even look like she was working. Didn't even seem like she was breaking a sweat. I know that she was working, but she was phenomenal. Whatever she's doing in terms of training, it's definitely working. I think coached by Dick Vincent at the moment, so get on that program. Maybe Dick was there just as a good friend and supporter, but in any case, touch base with Danielle. She's got it going on and quite well. So Danielle, cue us into your experience with your first, I think it's your first, Virgil Crest, let alone the 100.
Hi, my name is Danielle Snyder, and this past weekend I ran Virgil Crest 100 miler with my dog Petra. Actually, Petra didn't run with me, but she was out there supporting. So if you saw her at any of the aid stations, I'm sure you recognize her. She's pretty great. Anyways, so Ian asked me to do a video talking about my experience and why I chose Virgil Crest, and I am so excited to talk about it because I think it was like 10 years ago, oops, sorry, not very good with these video things. Okay, here we go. People who do this for a living are very impressive. Okay, so back to my original story. So around like the inaugural Virgil Crest, I volunteered, and then I had just started to get into running like 50Ks. And I remember being like, why would anyone ever want to run 100 miles? That is so crazy. Those people look like they're in so much pain. I cannot even understand it. But Virgil Crest kind of like wormed its way into my heart, and I have always had such an affinity for this race. And so when it went away, I was really disappointed because I was like out on the West Coast and I didn't ever have the opportunity to run it yet. When Ian promoted that it was back and this may be the one time, the advertisement totally worked on me. I was like, I have to get my butt back to New York and I have to come run this race. So I live on the West Coast, primarily in like Bend, Portland, sometimes Colorado area. I bounce around a lot, and I wanted to take a trip back to see my family and help out and plan it around Virgil. And I was so excited to be back because I just remember it being the gnarliest course, and I wanted to see if my memory was right or if it was just my first experience at 100 miles back when I volunteered. So I was really excited for it, and I was also really nervous because I haven't raced a 100-miler in a couple years. I've done some really long 100-plus adventures for the past couple of years, but never a traditional like race because I was really into adventuring as well as COVID. So this was like the first time back on a start line in a while, and I just love something about these homegrown races that are just so warm and lovely and in the middle of nowhere. So I'm like, you know, when you're just off 100 miles, it's sometimes hard to put into words the experience, but I had a great time. I was trying to think about like what my low points were for the race, and I'm really excited to say that there were like very few low points. Oh, one low point was that I saw a dead frog that someone stepped on, and that was really sad. And I wish I hadn't seen that. Rest in peace, frog. That was sad. Oh, anyways, so I think like I really wanted to, I approached this race differently than I have in the past. I did it without a pacer because on some of those longer adventures, I have gone like 80 or 90 miles without pacers, but I've never attempted the 100-mile distance without one. And I was just curious what it would look like and feel like. And I really wanted to approach this race with gratitude because it's a really awesome opportunity that we can attempt these long distances on our bodies. I have quite a few people in my life who can't do this type of thing because of physical or different diseases. And so rather than focusing on when I'm not moving fast enough, I decided that I'm going to focus on being just grateful that I'm out there. And that really seemed to work for me on this race. It helped me stay present and moving forward. And, you know, I felt really good the whole time, which is shocking because it was a really long time. And I think one of the hardest parts for me was actually being alone at night in areas where there were like places that other people could be. So like in some adventures, like your biggest fear is animals, let's say. But my biggest fear on this course was definitely coming across like other camping sites and things like that, and being alone out there, because the race got super spread out and I did not see a lot of people at all. Okay, what else can I say? Yeah, I just never have had such a fun race before. Usually I cry during 100s because I'm sad about how much longer I have to run, and this race that didn't happen, I was really excited because I got to see these cute puppies, and I wasn't cold. Oh, the mosquitoes were gross. I have like tons of mosquito bites on my back, which I don't know when I got them because I didn't feel them when I was running. And I think that one of the things that was really cool about this race was that I own my own business it's called Inner Drive Athlete, and I work with athletes on their mental wellness and resiliency. And so I like to use myself as an experiment. And so I wanted, like, another reason why I wanted to run this without a pacer was to see like what type of mental toughness and skills that you could learn running alone during these races. And so one of the things that I was practicing a lot was staying in the mile that I was in. And sometimes I was like talking out loud to myself, like, you just need to worry about getting to the next aid station. You don't have to worry about getting to the end. It's just the mile that you're in. And that was so helpful, especially with this race format where there were quite a few aid stations. And so I just had to get, the most was like 8 miles. And then I got to go to the next aid station and see my awesome crew. So I had an awesome adventure. I'm so thankful for the running community and the opportunity to get on a start line and to finish healthy. So thanks, Ian, and everyone else for being out there. That was a lot of fun.
So great job again, Danielle. It was awesome to see you out there, and that was a phenomenal effort. All right, let's go up to the third. Let's go up to the third overall finisher, and top female in the day was Riley Brady. Riley, we have profiled in a number of the Trails Collective episodes this year. Riley is just also incredibly tough and quick. She was my Cayuga Trails winner and Breakneck Point, I believe, winner. If I'm remembering right, time is a blur, but wicked tough. So I am excited to get this clip in from Riley, coming at you from the bike shop that she works at down in PA. Riley, take it away.
Obviously, you had tremendous success in this year's Virgil Crest 100. Can you tell us a little bit about your training and your preparation for the event?
Yeah, so I didn't really do too much different from what I normally do. I typically run about 6 days a week and take a rest day in there when I feel like I need it. I raced a lot this season, and so I don't know if that sort of high volume helped or hindered me. But I was getting out for a lot of pretty long runs, a couple exploratory long runs where I was just kind of going out on my bike, hopping off, running for a while, kind of ambling pace, not super fast. But then I did try to mix in some speed work on like midweek usually.
Cool. And how did your recovery go?
I'm still recovering. My quads are still sore, but I am walking down the stairs facing forwards now, which is a big win.
And how many days post-race are we right now?
Let's see, today's Thursday, and I finished up Sunday morning, so 5, I guess.
Cool.
Ish.
So you have had a lot of success. Would you like to give a shout out to your crew and your support people and tell us a little bit about who's helping you?
Yeah, so my parents were crewing for me, as they always do. They're the best. They go to every aid station, and my mom starts researching the race months in advance. And Ian changed things up a few times, and so then she'd start all over from the beginning. But it's great to have them out there and just bringing food and support, and I probably wouldn't be able to do it without them, so it's great to have a crew.
Cool. Were you listening to music?
I did for a little bit after the 50-mile point. Sort of on and off. I'd listen for a while, my headphones would die, and then I'd listen to the night sounds for a while, and then go back to listening to music.
Any songs come on that were totally inappropriate and weren't working for you at all?
No, because I made a playlist ahead of time, but I also like to listen to songs on repeat. So I was listening to Buttons by the Pussycat Dolls on repeat for a long time. I don't know why. I haven't heard that song in years. I didn't like it when it came out on the radio, but it just seemed to work.
Beautiful. A little bit about race tactics, and feel free to chime in with whatever you'd like to add here, but basically I'd like to get you started by asking, do you prefer running in a pack or being out solo, maybe in a little pocket of solitude?
Well, it's definitely nice to have people around, but I will say that the only times I made wrong turns was when I was running with other people. And one of those turns I think I probably would have done regardless of whether I was running with people or not. But at the beginning of the race, Ian said that some of us would make wrong turns and it would be our fault because we would be running in a pack, talking to each other, not paying attention. And one of those was definitely the case. I was just having a good time, checking out the sunrise, chatting with people, and we went off course. That being said, I do enjoy the camaraderie of ultras, and at least when you're lost with other people, it's a lot less stressful. So, yeah, I like both.
Cool. Speaking of stressful, could you talk about any physical distress you had?
Yeah, so my quads, I did not know it was possible to blow my quads out like this. Towards the end of the race, running downhill, they would just kind of periodically collapse underneath me. So my quads were really feeling it. I started to have some stomach issues, I don't know, maybe like 60 or so miles in, but one of my goals for the race was to really try to troubleshoot my nutrition well. So I stopped taking in gels. I was like, these don't seem to be working. Let me see what I can switch to instead. And that ended up seeming to work. I took a little break from eating at one point, and that just kind of helped reset my stomach. And then I switched over to PB&Js and bananas at the aid stations, which seemed to hold strong. So
cool. And then this is a fun open-ended question. How about mental distress? What kind of weirdness did you encounter?
Well, there were definitely points where I was like frustrated with myself for moving too slowly, wanting to go a little bit faster. But I don't feel like I hit any of the extreme lows that I've hit in races before. even though this race was much harder than any race I've ever done. I'm still trying to figure out if I was hallucinating this deer in the woods. It was like weirdly big and seemed to be kind of up higher than I thought it should be, but maybe it was just kind of tricks of the light. So I guess that counts as mental distress. I don't know.
Sounds like it. Okay, anything else you'd like to add?
Ian put on a great race. I really had a lot of fun. It's always great to see the Finger Lakes running crew. There's a lot of people up there who I've encountered at various races this past year. So really, really nice job. Thanks, Ian.
All right, that's Riley Brady. Congratulations on a terrific run.
Thanks.
All right, and our winner for the 100 mile, an incredible effort. We had a few individuals coming in that I thought was going to make for a fast and competitive top-end men's field. Cole Crosby, a good friend, was hoping to shoot for that 18 to 19 hour range. Daniel Grip, wonderful individual, also wicked tough. He's been having a good year, was coming in. And then Andrew Simpson in that mix as well. And Andrew just had a phenomenal day. Coming out of PA, is he's had some pretty exceptional races at some pretty rugged and long courses historically, and it was good to see him just going. The final, I think, circuit, he had a big enough buffer over Dan Grip, who was in second, where he was able to just not punish himself, kind of put it in, not really cruise control, but just to get it in and not kill himself. And it was really quite impressive. So here is my post-race connection with Andrew Simpson. All right, Andrew Simpson, where are you from?
York, Pennsylvania.
York, Pennsylvania. So you just, from my vantage point, you had a phenomenal Virgil Crest 100 over the prior 24 hours or so. So you've done several hundreds in the past?
This is my sixth.
Sixth, yeah. And what were the ones you've done?
I've done Oil Creek 3 times and then Grindstone twice. So it's only my third course.
In your mid-20s?
No, I'm 30. I'm 33.
You're 33. Nice work.
Yep.
So you're still getting quicker. I mean, fitness.
Yeah, it seems to be getting better, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what do you think? I mean, this was a focus race for you for this year?
Yeah. Any 100-miler I'll focus on for sure. Yeah. It's my favorite distance, so when I do one, it's what I go for.
Nice. And what do you think coming in? I mean, what were your expectations for Virgil? What was your awareness of it? What were you kind of prepping for?
Yeah, I knew. I guess I read the website where it said it was hard but runnable. So I was preparing. I did lots of road hill work, actually. Most of my training's on roads. My expectations, as I said to you earlier, I had no idea what my time would be. So I just really was just trying to cover a new course over 100 miles.
I mean, I guess based on just talking about that concept of, or chewing on the concept of tough but runnable, I mean, what do you think of the runnable concept?
Yeah, I think it was runnable in general. I mean, you have the big climb up the ski slopes and then the one at the end of the out and back. But otherwise, I thought if you felt good, you could run them for sure.
And I guess that was my feel. I mean, so you're coming out of, where in PA are you based?
York, Pennsylvania,
York, PA,
southern,
Right, so it's led in with. So my vantage point there was just so many areas, whether it be some of the Roxylvania, Pennsylvania races, or whether it be Catskills, Adirondacks, whatever around us, there's just so much more rock, whereas it's fairly clean footing as far as trails go.
Yeah, other than the mud, it was not technical, I would say.
Yeah. And any other, how'd you find the course? Any of their comments on it? How would you describe it to other people in terms of how it flows, works, or feels?
I would say it doesn't flow, and that's what makes it so hard. Yeah, it's just relentless. It's hard to run fast downhill because of the way it switchbacks and is really steep at different points. Just hard to get any sort of rhythm. Yeah, so.
And you looked pretty solid from the get-go. I don't remember you in the first loop, but it seems like you didn't necessarily overrun it. You were pretty consistent and pretty measured. I mean, how'd your day shake out?
Yeah, the first loop I came into this aid station with Cole Crosby and Dan Grip, and then
you guys were together in that.
Yeah, we all showed up here together, and then it was we ran started out and back together, and I pulled away down the first descent, and that was
going into it, right down into
right, yeah, the very first descent on the out and back is where I created a bit of a gap originally.
Yep. Yeah. And then how did it go from there? Was there a point where there was anything remarkable? Did kind of the wheels fall off, or did it just kind of go as 100 goes?
I was more sore early on than normal. I would say I had a lot of quad pain around 30 miles because I was pushing the pace, which was intentional.
Just to create a separation?
Yeah, I was just trying to test out the field and see if they responded. And so I was a little concerned about that, but luckily my quads never got blown. They just were tired and sore. I would say my lowest 2 points were the second and third climb up the ski slope here at the start of the loop. I bonked pretty bad after the climb, and both times in the heat of the day, and needed to just dump a lot of calories in and walk even the flat part for a little bit.
Do you think it was just pushing a bit on that ascent, so your body was
I think so, yeah. It was just overheating, the heart rate starts spiraling out of control kind of thing. And yeah, so just had to recalibrate. But other than that, no major lows. I mean, the very end of 100's a low for pretty much everyone, so that was rough, but
yeah. So your finish time, I mean, we just talked about it, but just for the interview here, your finish time was roughly?
I'm thinking like 2015 or so, give or take. Yeah.
And you said you commented on just no expectations, or you didn't know how it was going to go or what to expect.
No, yeah, I didn't know. I would have thought I would have gone under 20, but after seeing the course, I mean, it would have been a good run.
You would have had to really defend yourself to get there.
Yeah, I missed some turns early on. It cost me 1.5 miles total, but still, it still would have been close to right around 20. It's not like I would have gone far under.
And your watch, when you looked at it when you came in, was like 102? Where were you?
My watch died on the out and back. My watch lasted till about 83 and a half, which was actually 82 on the actual course. Yeah.
I think it was Tristan that said he was right in around 108 or 101.8.
Okay.
Right. And then, so how about just like the layout of the course? You mentioned just the competition and testing out the field. Like initially when I brought it back, I thought it would be fun to do a point to point, and there's just so many private land crossings around here, it just becomes virtually impossible. So I shifted back to the format of it being kind of loops or out and backs, which can be, I don't know, how do you find that? I mean, in terms of mentally, preference for courses, formats?
Whatever. I'll work with whatever it is. Yeah, Oil Creek is 350 Ks basically, and then Grindstone's an out and back. So I've never done a point to point 100. So it'd be cool to do someday, but no, the format didn't bother me at all.
Yeah. And in terms of the competition sense, I guess my hope is that it makes it more social, but for those that are running hard or competing up front, you get a window where you don't necessarily know where the other person is, but then, mixed in every couple loops or whatever, you get the out and back, so you can just see how it's shaking out.
It was very helpful, especially on the second out and back, to have a better grasp on my gap between myself and Dan, because I had heard things from my crew, but a lot of the time that stuff's inaccurate, so it's nice to see it with your own eyes. Yeah.
I guess in that moment you can more accurately assess. I mean, you're feeling their energy, you're kind of looking in your eyes when they pass them. And, yeah. Well, it was great. I thought you looked great. It was great to have you in the field.
Thank you.
Congrats on an awesome performance. And what else, just for the interview, what else you got coming up this year?
JFK, and that's it. Hopefully a long rest after that.
And just see how JFK goes. Any hopes or kind of targets or?
I haven't given it a ton of thought because of this. I usually go one race at a time. I would like to be around the 6 hour threshold. See, I mean, it's a different type of race than normal. It's a lot more runnable than something like this or a lot of the other races I typically have done. So,
which if you're doing a lot of road training, I guess that.
Yeah, my training's almost exclusively on the road, so that should help. And I have some cousins who are jumping in the marathon training for a marathon in November, so I'll probably be doing a lot of marathon work for,
And do
for that.
strength work mixed into that, or like
Just body weight type stuff and different core strengthening exercises, but nothing super major, no.
And focusing on elevation gain in the road?
I did for this, and I try to do some sort of structured hill repeats at least once a week on the road, where I'm getting a lot of quality, even if my vert isn't what it would be if I was on trails all the time.
Because that's impressive. I mean, there's a decent, so depending on the instrument here of measure, it looks like the course will be around 24,000, give or take. So, I mean, that's awesome that you're able to come out and do almost exclusive road training and still handle it, I guess, that well.
Yeah, I think the roads just help me build an engine, I guess, that allows my legs to keep moving, hopefully anyway. It's not a sure thing, but yeah.
Well, cool. Well, congratulations, and look forward to seeing how JFK shakes out.
Awesome, appreciate it, thank you.
So Andrew, congrats again. It was awesome to watch you and your crew out there, and that was an awesome run. All right, moving down to PA. The Pine Creek Trail Challenge, or the Pine Creek Challenge Marathon, 50-mile, 100K, 100-miler in Wellsboro, PA ran. It's one of the flattest and fastest ultras in the Northeast. Pine Creek is a solid option for both beginners and seasoned vets looking for a fast time and good company. I'm thankful to have two voices in this week's episode breaking down and digging into Pine Creek. The first RD, Steve Haynes and Furry George of the Tioga Running Club, taking us a bit deeper into this flat, fast gem.
I'm Steve Haynes. I'm with the Tioga Running Club in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, the TRC as we call it. The TRC has 5 events. This is George also. He's not going to say much, but he's going to be here. The TRC has 5 events on our annual calendar. We start off in February with what we call the Mount Tom Challenge. That's part of Wellsboro's Winter Weekend celebration. The format there is we all meet, and it's in February. The trails are snowy or icy, whatever, and we run up Mount Tom, come back down and hang around the campfire and have some hot chocolate and goodies and cookies and tell everybody how wonderful you are, and then if you're so minded, do it again. Now the Mount Tom Trail is 2.5 miles long, has 1,100 feet of elevation, and all of that comes in the first 0.8 of a mile. So it's a pretty tough trail. Our course record is 5 trips in 2 hours. That's a pretty good run, but that's just a winter warm-up. We do another one in May, since we have access to the Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania and the Pine Creek Rail Trail. We do one we call Canyon Man. Now Canyon Man is, we've kept it real low-key, under 15 participants. The format there is we meet in the morning and kayak 18 miles down Pine Creek to Rattlesnake Rock. Pull out your kayak, change clothes if you're so minded, and run 35 miles up the rugged and muddy West Rim Trail back to where you started. Jump on your bicycle that you've left there and ride an additional 50 miles on the forestry roads and the West Rim Trail to bring you back exactly where you started from. 100-mile trip. If you get back before the bar, we set up in the back yard behind the bar. If you come back before they close, you get a beer and a burger. No big deal. Just kind of another low-key, fun one that we thought of. We're giving a lot of thought to expanding that one and making it a much larger event, opening up, maybe even a team event. Stay tuned for that, but that's another one that we do. One that we just did for the first time this year, we call Canyon Kids. This was free for kids 12 and under. We had access to some private land, so kids 12 and under did a 5K trail run. Along the course, we had a couple aid stations. We had a magician. We had people dressed up as gnomes. We had Vikings. We had dinosaurs. We had people with water balloons and all kinds of stuff to amuse the kids while they were out on their run. And back at home base, we had a magician. We had somebody making balloon animals. We had ice cream. We had hot dogs, hamburgers, drinks, all kinds of stuff going on. Again, all free for kids 12 and under. They got a shirt. Just another good fun thing for kids to get some kids involved in running. Our next event that we do is the Pine Creek Challenge. That's in October. That's kind of one that I direct.
September.
And later on in October, we do the Green Monster Trail Challenge. The Green Monster is pretty tough trail runs up in the hills behind Asaph, Pennsylvania. We offer 15, 25, and 50K, and if my numbers are right, the 15K has 1,700 feet in elevation. That's kind of the kids' run, and the 50K has 7,800 feet of elevation gain in it. Not for the faint of heart. So that's a really a tough trail run. But I direct the Pine Creek Challenge, so that's obviously the one that I know the most about and talk most about. But with the Pine Creek Challenge is on the Pine Creek Rail Trail. Pine Creek Rail Trail is an abandoned railroad grade course. It stretches from Westfield, Wellsboro, I should say, to Jersey Shore. It's finely crushed stone for a surface. It's 20 feet wide. The entire trail is 61 miles long. We only use the top 25 miles of it, but we do a run there. We offer 100 miles, 100K, 50 miles, and a marathon distance. It's worked out well for us. This year we had more runners than ever before. We had 225 runners toe the line, and we had some nice weather. We always put that on the weekend after Labor Day. That puts us in a time when the weather's normally very good. As it was this year, we had probably 75 degrees in the daytime and 58 degrees in the nighttime. Just good weather for running. That helped us to put in some good performances this year. And we also have a wonderful start-finish area. We're able to use the USGS research laboratory at Asaph. We have about 2 acres of mowed grass. We have plenty of room for parking. We have people that camp overnight, and it adjoins the rail trail. It's right there and very handy. We're fortunate to have that. The rail trail being what it is, it's so wide, it's so flat, and we have some generous time limits. We have 30 hours for the 100-miler and 29 for the 100K, and because of the way the aid stations are structured, we can offer the 50-milers 28 hours, and the marathoners can actually have 27 hours. So it certainly works well for beginners and for some folks that may not have the speed that they once have. In fact, this year we had over 50% beginners or first-timers at any given distance, and we had 38% women. So that's to say we have an opportunity for some folks to kind of test their waters. But that's not to say it can't be fast. This year we had some good performances. George, all right, stay out of the camera. We had this year we had the women's course record for the 100-mile. Put down a notch. It's 15:55 by Jenny Hoffman. She was second overall to Ethan Koza, who set a very fine 14:55, and that's certainly some pretty good running. But actually, our 100-mile course record, we've got a very stout 14:16, set by Brad Popple in 2017. And I've got to say, Brad ran it the old school way. He did not have any crew whatsoever. He just used our aid stations and still turned in that pretty blistering time that's likely to stand for a long time. And so we do have some competitive stuff happening. This year, again, we were honored to have Nick Marshall come and run with us. Nick is a kind of an old name. He's a member of the Ultra Running Hall of Fame. In his day, he was a top runner. Some injuries and he got stricken with Lyme disease and taken all that from him, but he still trains and he still comes and he runs and he's got a little bit of the fire left, but he knows he's running against a cutoff clock rather than a finishing clock. But these days Nick is probably more known for the very accurate records he keeps of ultra running things. Since he's from Pennsylvania, he's down from somewhere near Harrisburg. He keeps records of Pennsylvanians and he has records by individual age years rather than decades like a lot of us do. And he sent me a very nice email telling me that this year, again, we set several records for Pennsylvanians at our event. He tells me that we set a record for a female 55 at 100K. I'm not going to list the names. Female 55 at 100K, a female 74 at 100K, a female 16 at 100 miles, who he thinks is the youngest female to run 100 miles. We had a male 21 run the fastest 100 mile. That would be Ethan Koza. We had a male 49 run a 100 miler, and a female 55 run the fastest Pennsylvania 100 milers he's aware of. So that's kind of neat. That says, yes, we can have some pretty interesting things happening at our events. If any of you are interested, there are pages of what Nick has done. He's done it for a lot of years. A little bit of Google search, find Nick Marshall's ultra running records. It's a Google document. You'll know when you get the right one. But it's out there and free for anybody to look at. Actually, Nick still owns, I think I saw at least 3 of records that he set back. Oh lordy, he was in his late 30s. That would have been from 35 years ago. He still owns 3 of the fastest 100 milers for, I think, 37, 38, and 39-year-olds. So it's kind of neat to see you look through there and see what some of those records might be. But that was our Pine Creek Challenge. It went very well. We had a good year. Lots more runners than we've had before, and everybody seemed to have a good time. Aided, of course, by the good weather. The trail that we had was good, and I got to say, we got just an outstanding crew of volunteers and aid station people. Every single runner that I talked to raved and said we had outstanding aid stations, from the one that had the runway lights out and loud music and all that stuff going on. Another one had campfire and was giving out s'mores and whatever. So good event. If you want to know more about it, the Tioga Running Club has a Facebook page and a website, and the Pine Creek Challenge does as well. But that's kind of what we've been up to. We think we've got a good event, and hopefully some of you folks can look it up.
All right, Steve, so thanks for following up with that clip and cueing me into Gagz being up for a clip as well. So that is the second Michael Gagz Gagliardi of the Running Times with Gagz podcast, and multiple-time finisher, 6th place 100-mile finisher, I think, this year, taking us into the event, the field and how it shook out, including also tips for staying strong in those lonely night miles of Pine Creek. Take it, Gagz.
Thank you, Ian. Hey everyone at Trails Collective. My name is Michael Gagliardi, aka Gagz. I'm an ultra runner from Philadelphia. The good folks at Trails Collective asked me to do a little race recap on the Pine Creek Challenge, which took place this past Saturday on September 11th at 6 a.m. The race takes place on the Pine Creek Rail Trail, the gorgeous Pine Creek Rail Trail. It's a crushed gravel surface. The trail itself runs about 62 miles. This race is pretty much a 25-mile out and back, which we do twice. On Saturday for this year, for 2021, 102 runners were registered. 63 finished. The winner, 21 years old, his first race according to UltraSignUp, his first ultra according to UltraSignUp, Ethan Koza from Philadelphia. Congratulations, Ethan. He won the race in 14:55. Guys, I saw him out there. I kept saying to myself, like, this guy's got to slow down at some point. Maybe he's going to run out of steam. He can't keep this pace. Well, guess what? He did. Congratulations, Ethan. That's a hell of a way to start your ultra career. And for the women, setting a new course record, Jenny Hoffman. Congratulations, Jenny. 43 years old from Cambridge, Massachusetts. She's no stranger to the game, folks. She has 70 races under her belt according to UltraSignUp, 57 trophies. So that's quite a comparison to young Ethan. Jenny set the course record for women, 15:55, 23 seconds. Jenny and I had a chance to speak before the race. She said she was feeling good, looking forward to the opportunity to push herself that day. And remember, guys, she's coming off the Beast of Burden, which she won outright July 31st with a finish time of 17:21. So again, congratulations, Jenny. You were awesome out there. Every time I saw her, she had her head down and was just getting it done. For me personally, this was my 4th time running Pine Creek. I love this race. I love everything about it. The first year I ran it back in 2016, there was only 22 finishers. This year, we had 102 starters and 63 finishers. So that's kudos to Steve Haynes and his crew up there and his staff of volunteers. They were nothing short of excellent. the whole day long, just energetic, like whatever I needed when I came to the aid stations, they had it. They were great. Now this race itself, and as I stated, it's 225 milers out and back twice. The big part of this race comes when you hit 14 and a half miles and you're going out to Blackwell at the 50K mark and you're turning around to go back to Darling Run at 47 miles. You're out there for 7.5 miles and then again 8.5 miles. It's lonely, it's long, it can be boring at times, and that middle aid station, that Tyadotten, it's way deep in the woods, so your crew can't get to you. Now, you'll run this part twice, obviously. You need to remember how lonely this stretch is, because when you come to it at the nighttime, your car is there. When you come to Darling Run at nighttime, your car is there, your crew is there. It's the last time you're going to see them for at least 3 hours. And you need to be mentally strong, because it's going to be a long stretch of road there. And this is the time when a lot of people drop, and that's unfortunate. So for the first time we're looking at Pine Creek, this is a great opportunity to become part of the 100 Miler Club. Keep what I just said in mind about that stretch. And for the vets out there, this course is made for PRs. For myself, I'm happy to report this wasn't my fastest Pine Creek. This was my third slowest, actually. But I'm happy to report that it was one of my most special and definitely one of my smartest races. I say smartest because the plan for this race was to be able to run the entire thing from beginning to end, and I did do that. I was able to keep a pace which was very comfortable for the entire day. Pleased to report that I finished the race in 6th place with a finish time of 18:43, and it was definitely one of the most special because I had my 2 sons with me. My youngest son, who's holding the camera, there he is. He rode his bike with me from miles 61 and 65, and my oldest son, Leo, rode his bike from miles 81 back to the finish line at 100.8 miles. And for my troubles, I was able to procure another mug, now have 4, and a buckle. So guys, keep Pine Creek on your radar for next year. You're definitely going to see me up there. I also have a little podcast here in Philadelphia, sponsored by Philly Runner, called Running Times with Gagz. You'll find me wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and you can always find me on Instagram at BDG123. Thanks for everyone at Trails Collective for the opportunity. Ian, much love. People, peace and love. Thank you.
For sure, take some time to check out Gagz running times. Recent episode was with 3rd place Eastern States female Faith Hall, and they dig into bartending as great training and how to wrestle bears. So good stuff. Check that out. All right. Also in PA, the Boulder Field 100, 10-mile, 50K, 100K in Jim Thorpe, PA. And this is one that's put on by the excellent crew at Uber Endurance Sports. And in the 100K of 33 finishers, Matt Corcoran took the overall win in 10:31 with top women of the day and the second fastest women's time on the course to Melinda Cohen in 12:05. In the 50K of 169 finishers, Mark Noble was first across the line in 4:39 with top women's spot going to Colleen Moffitt in 5:09. In the 18-miler of 133 finishers, Vladislav Los and Lori Stewart took home the top finishers in 2:26 and 3:02 respectively. We have 2 finishers bringing us deeper into Boulder Field. One is 100K finisher AJ Johnson, delving into the course event and including the importance of aid station potatoes fried in bacon grease. Take it, AJ.
Hi everyone, I'm AJ Johnson. I was asked by Ian Golden to do a quick recap of the Boulder Field 100K race I did this past weekend. It's held at Hickory State Park, which is in Pennsylvania. It's put on by Uber Endurance Sports. Stefan Weiss is the RD. Him and his volunteers do an outstanding job, as always at every event they hold, and this is no exception. Great job by them. This particular course, it's a figure 8 course. The figure 8 encompasses 31 miles or the 50K. There was 3 events here, but it was 18 miles, a 50K, and a 100K. I did the 100K version again. The first part of that course, 13 miles, you head out, you campgrounds, you head through some single track trails, but then you go up the mountain. He warned us beforehand, Stefan did, that there'd be some extra water on the course 5 minutes in where our feet are pretty wet. A lot of single track trail, beautiful, beautiful trails up on top of the mountain. The first part, the first 13 miles is undulating. You're either going up or you're going down. There was a lot of rocks and roots. A lot of it was more exposed than I remember due to the hurricane recently. You have one aid station out there. You hit about 5 miles in, and you hit it again as you come off the mountain before you come back. At the back end of that section, there's a section called the Shades of Death Trail. It's very, very interesting. It's very scenic. Beautiful waterfall there, a big raging river with all the extra water on the mountain. You have to go through there. It's about a mile to get through there, and the 100Kers have to do it twice. Once you make it through that, you have a little bit more of a trail to go through, and then you come back to the start-finish where they send you back off for your 18-mile section. A lot of runnable parts here. Right after the first aid station, there's a section that's at 2 miles. It's kind of downhill. I promise myself every year I have to run that whole entire thing to try and gain back some time that you lose on that first 13 miles through all the technical running. So hit that. Then you have the Boulder Field Trail, which leads to the namesake of the race, the actual Boulder Field. You have to cross that thing. You have to be careful. Someone actually went down and broke their arm right before that, and but they still made it across the Boulder Field with a broken arm with some assistance. That's some real tough lady there. After that, you have a lot of single track trail, and then you pop out onto some fire type grassy roads where you can make up some more time because it's gradual downhill. Then you come to another aid station where you fuel up, of course. My fuel choice for this race and for races here lately has been the GU Roctane powder. So that's what I've been using. I try and stay minimal as possible. Less things to mess with, the better. After that last aid station there, before the start finish, you have some single track trails where some people encountered some angry hornets. Made it through that. I didn't get stung. One buzzed me, but a couple of people got stung up pretty good. Again, you make your way up some single track, up a hill, and then onto some roads, which eventually make your way back down to the start finish at the end of your 18-mile section there and your 50K section. You have a decision to make at that point. You're either going to continue to finish your 100K, and where I believe some people may have sat down and said, "Hey, the aid station food's too good. We're gonna hang out here." That that was tempting, but after a quick sock change, I was back out, and to do it all over again. I have to say this: that first aid station in the 13-mile section, they made the absolute best fried potatoes in bacon grease. Unbelievable. I almost didn't want to leave. So grabbed a few of those, hit that uphill mountain section, roots, rocks, great scenic point up top to take a look around. Then it was back down through Shades of Death and back to the start again, and then you're out there for that last 18-mile section one more time. Was able to keep the legs moving, even though I put in too many miles in August as not necessarily training. It was a virtual run I did there, but from the virtual run across Tennessee, too many miles, which was a bad taper idea. But anyway, that nice rocky, about 2-mile rocky trail to the Boulder Field. Once you get across Boulder Field, it's kind of, you're kind of making your way home. You have your nice single track trail to the grassy road sections, and then you just got to fight your way through the trail system at the end to make it to the road where it's a straight downhill. One of the funniest things about it is I passed a few people there, look back as I'm going down the hill towards the finish. Nobody in sight. I take a look back at about a little more than a quarter mile, and there's a guy running for all he's worth trying to catch me. So geez, after 61 and a half miles, it actually turned into a race. So was able to hold him off. He finished 15 seconds behind me. Good day on the trails. I didn't leave too much blood out there. I normally, take one little fall, but I did actually fall in the Boulder Field trying to be like a billy goat or something. And hey, that's trail running. So it was a great day on the trails. One more time, great job by Stefan and his crew. And I'll probably be back again next year. Awesome times. Thanks for listening. Bye.
And a fresh perspective on an individual new to the trail community, let alone events, an individual literally in the process of turning his life around in health and fitness, 18-mile finisher, Tyler Mummert.
Hey everyone, my name's Tyler Mummert. I live in Hanover, Pennsylvania, and I wanted to give everyone a perspective of a first-time ultra participant. This past Saturday, I did the Boulder Field Ultra. I did the hike portion, 18-mile, and I've never done an ultra event before. I've never done any race before. I've never even done a 5K. But I signed up. One of your trail runners, who you probably know, Gracie, inspired me, and found out I was into hiking and dabbling a little bit with getting into trail running. So she sent me the link to the Boulder Field Ultra back when they announced it, probably in, January or February, and suggested that I sign up for it. So I was looking for something to stretch me a little bit, and decided I would do that. A little background: back in January of 2020, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. And at the time, I had not been active for a while. I was creeping up on 270 pounds, 6 foot tall, 55 years old. And my doctor told me if I wanted to have any quality of life, I needed to lose weight, get active, change my diet and so forth. So kind of by accident, I got into hiking. I decided to go for a hike down at Cador State Park nearby, and I went out and huffed and puffed, and but went out by myself, had a great time, and kind of fell in love with the woods and fell in love with hiking, as I say, kind of by accident. And then I started to hike every week. Then I started to hike several times a week. I started a hiking group here locally called Sunday Hike Club, and we have about 110 members now, which is pretty cool, of all ages, fitness levels, and it's been a great journey. So back then, back in, February, I signed up for this event and thought I have all summer, I'll train. And at that point, my longest hike ever had been 10 miles down in Harper's Ferry on the AT. And I thought, well, I'll do some longer hikes this summer. And I did a lot of hikes, but a lot of them were 5 miles, 6 miles, 7 miles. And the longest hike I did this summer in supposed training was 13 miles, but not a lot of elevation. So the hike got closer, this event got closer, and I was getting a little more nervous and thinking, oh my God, what have I done? When I signed up, I posted it on Facebook, and 6 of my friends decided to do it with me. And so we had a group over there. Most of them, it was their first ultra event as well. A bunch of them ran it, and a couple of us hiked it. So I was pretty jacked up going into the event Friday night, and we picked up our stuff, and didn't have the best night's sleep Saturday. Got there before the race, and the sea of cars, everybody stretching, everybody looking younger than me, way more fit, and I'm kind of freaking out, thinking this is not my people. But everybody was super friendly and supportive, and it was a great time. I went into it with a good attitude. I had some goals. Goal 1, don't die. Goal 2, don't get injured. Goal 3, don't get yanked from the course for going too slow and missing the cutoff. And none of those things happened. I also didn't want to finish last, which, proud to say, I didn't. I wasn't too far from last in the group, but I didn't finish last, and finished before the cutoff. Didn't hurt myself. Obviously, I'm still alive. and made some great memories, made some great friends, and had a great experience. What a rush to cross the finish line. I was exhausted. My hips, I never did enough before in my life to have sore hips, but by mile 12 or 13, my hips were singing, and I was hurting, but Mama didn't raise a quitter, so I had a buddy that stayed with me the whole time, and we crossed the finish line together, and it was pretty cool. So glad to do it, and I am really impressed with the ultra racing community, trail running community. Great group of people. Everybody, or a lot of the people that went with us this year, want to go again. Some of them want, obviously, I think we all want to improve our times. Some of them want to run it, that hike. Some of them that ran the 18-mile hike option are looking to run the 50K next year. So, and one of them signed up for some other events in the meantime. So it's kind of addicting, and I'm really excited to see what's in the future. Wish I would have got into this when I was younger, but I've dropped 35 pounds this past year. My A1C is in normal range, and my blood pressure yesterday was 110/80. So it's this stuff's really good for you. And I'm glad I met Gracie, and she inspired me to stretch myself and do this event. So looking forward to some other things. Hoping I can do some running coming up, but in the meantime, happy to be hiking and happy to have been at one of the events. So the support staff there was great. The director was great. It was just a great day. So thanks for letting me share, and keep doing what you're doing, guys. You're very inspiring to me and lots of others. Thanks a lot.
So Tyler, great job out there with your own fitness, establishing the Sunday Hike Club, to providing inspiration for others to do the same, and for tossing in a most excellent tagline of "Mama didn't raise a quitter." All good things. And to Grace Langhine, who also reached out to me for reaching out to just an individual that you connected with in the parking lot, bringing them in, getting them involved in an event. That's awesome. Definitely a way to bridge communities between hiking and running, make it a larger, more wonderful community. And great job, Tyler, to stepping in and stepping up for the event. Another one that went down in PA was the Smallfoot Trail Fest 5K Mifflinburg. Smallfoot is a kids-only trail race with some stream crossings and mud. Unsure of the results yet, or whether they even post them for this event. But with 157 finishers in 2019 as a baseline, good on Smallfoot for rocking the kids' event. Down in Virginia, Lake Ridge Endurance Run, 6, 12, 24-hour in Dublin, Virginia. It's a timed event that makes use of a 4-mile loop with consistent views of Claytor Lake. This was a first-year running, so new course benchmarks are now set by winners Sean Stanley and Megunticook for the 24-hour with 84 and 60 miles covered. Tin Liu and Andrea Johnson in the 12-hour, completing 48 and 40 miles respectively. And Gemma Grove and John Certo in the 6-hour with 28 and 16 miles covered respectively. Great job, all. All right, up to Vermont. The Groton Forest Trail Run 6.2, 15-mile, 26.5 miler ran in Groton. In its third year, Groton, still is a beautiful course. Offers 5,000 feet of elevation gain in the marathon, and then scales that down to the other distances. The course is honest, but it's not over the top in terms of technicality or elevation gain. Looks like just like a wonderful New England event. Their hope is to increase interest in the Groton Forest and raise money for Central Vermont Runners, Cross Trails Vermont, and the Groton Reigate Fast Squad. Curious what that Fast Squad is, but didn't get a chance to stop and check that out. Of 23 finishers in the marathon, Josh Ferentz took home the win in 4:05, with Dylan Broderick for the women in 4:26. Both were the third fastest ever times for the course. In the 15-miler, Alex Gottlieb in 2:04 and Jacqueline Giancatis in 2:38 earned the wins. And in the 10K, Tyler Concieri and Tammy Russell in 59:13 and 1:06 respectively. All right, jumping to the international scene. Two events for Northeast runners that were on my radar. One is the Ultra Trail Snowdonia in the mountainous region in northwestern Wales. and this was for Trent, Swanson, and Gabe Matyiko of the Delmarva crew. Digging into the COVID rigors, the UK Euro trail running culture, massive climbing and adventure, all packed into this 5-minute clip. Well done, fellas. Looks like an awesome adventure. Cue us in here.
Hello, Trails Collective. Greetings from Delmarva. I'm Trent, and this is Gabe, coming to you from Pemberton Running Club Algonquin Ultras. Wanted to share experience we had this past weekend. We had the opportunity to fly to Wales and participate in the Trails Ultra Trails Snowdonia. And it was a juggernaut of a trip just to make it happen with COVID. We had to take multiple COVID tests, one to get there, one when we arrived, one when we left. We had 2 of our 3 flights cancel, but somehow we were able to get to Wales, and it was well worth it. It was way different running and racing in Europe.
So yeah, the whole culture of ultra running, at least in the UK, and we're going to assume since most of the runners were all from Europe, and we sort of, as running with them, talked about what we experienced. We're assuming it's sort of synonymous with what goes on in Europe. The culture is totally different from the States in that they don't hold your hand. The flagging and the way they mark the courses are a little bit less thorough, because that's just not the expectation. The expectation is that the runners are a little bit more self-reliant. They've got to have a little bit more mountain awareness, and they're coming to the race for more than just a point-to-point, get there as fast as you can experience, but you're going there for the mountain adventure experience. And so that really for us stood out from the get-go as a main difference from what we're used to experiencing in the States.
Yeah, we're not used to mandatory kits. We're not used to guiding our own way throughout. We're used to having things marked out, and that caused some hiccups for me in my adventure. Not really the race I was hoping for, expecting, but definitely a great adventure. At the end of the day, I was able to get out there and complete about 24 to 26 miles. My watch died at 21 miles. And at 21 miles, I completed 9,200 and change in elevation gain, and really got a good appreciation for what it's like running in Wales. And I can tell you this, if any of you had run Heiner, the first climb of Heiner, imagine that at the beginning, similar, and then hitting about 2 more of those that are even more brutally intense for climbing. So there's a lot of boulder climbing, a lot of scrambling. And by the time I got to the 3rd and final aid station, I had timed out. So I didn't have the race I wanted, but I was able to get back, sleep in a Welshman's tent, because we got locked out of our hotel, and wait the night for Gabe to arrive, who had actually started a day before me and was doing the 100-miler.
So yeah, I signed up for the 165K, which actually turns into about 103 miles. The race was supposed to have about 34,000 feet of elevation gain, but on my watch, it ended up being more like 35,000 feet. And it definitely felt like that or more. I was dealing with an injury earlier in the summer. In the end of May, I hurt my ankle and tore a bunch of tendons in there, and ended up spending about 6 weeks in a boot and on crutches. So I didn't think that I was going to be able to finish the race, but or even start it. But as we got closer, my training kind of got to the point where I thought, maybe I can pull this off. So it was amazing. I had a great time. The terrain was unlike anything I've really ever experienced. Lots of rock climbing, bouldering. The trail wasn't always clear and marked. The GPX file that they gave us that you followed on your watch, if you didn't have that, or at night if you weren't running with a team of guys to try to help figure out how to stay on route, you would have been completely lost. And that was just stuff that we had to adapt and figure out, as a different expectation, and reset our bar as we were going through the event. Because there again, like we said, it wasn't like the events that we had back home. So anyway, at the end of the day, I was able to pull out a finish. 92 started, 32 finished, and I ended up 12th place, miraculously. So it was amazing. That place, Snowdonia, is brutally savage, but beautiful. Beautiful. And just an amazing time. So I highly recommend it if anybody's thinking about looking for a European experience or destination to run. For sure, put that on your list.
Yeah, if you want brutally savage, go to Wales.
Snowdonia.
So it truly looks remarkable, spectacular, and definitely would be cool to get over into that European trail scene at some point, which I have not done in terms of events. All right, and then another one. the Ultra Trail Hurricana, 125K, part of the Ultra Trail World Series up in Quebec. David Hedges, located where I am based here in Ithaca, an individual who I think I first, cued into with him stopping in my shop and just being impressed with how much he could really dig into shoes and footwear, and then followed up by an incredible run at my Breakneck Point trail races and marathon that year. Definitely was on my radar after that, and I think he will be increasingly on yours. He is a very, I think, understated individual who has a ton of work ethic as well as just phenomenal talent, and I think that that's starting to come together now. So I think that you are going to hear David Hedges' name hopefully quite a bit more. And so in this instance, taking us into what sounds like a beautiful course on breaking Canadians, the power of gizzard lizards, and the strength that must come from one rocking sweet mullet, David Hedges.
All right, Trails Collective folks. Little recap on Ultra Trail Hurricana 125K, part of the Ultra Trail World Tour. I'm a grad student here at Cornell in Ithaca, and so last Wednesday, I was able to get ahead on work, and last Wednesday took off. It's like 10, 11 hours to the race venue. I mean, it's really quite out there in the wilds of Quebec. So I spent Wednesday night in Quebec City, which is really super nice place. Chilled out Thursday, and then Friday 1 p.m. was the race day. Was race start, point to point. So I took the shuttle up with the other competitors, and and I went out with the basically the two favorites, David Jecker and Elliot Cardin, who are Canadian top runners. Jecker went out really hard, like 5:30 mile pace, 6 maybe on the sort of rolling fire roads. So I felt fine, went with him. And then as soon as we hit the trails, which the first half was really the very mountainous half, I dropped him immediately and never saw him again, nor Elliot. I kind of strategically put the pressure on that first half because I'd been living in Vermont and doing some great training on the Long Trail and northern Vermont, a little in New Hampshire. So I was super, it's kind of similar terrain up there in Quebec. So I really put the pressure on and successfully kind of broke them both because they both ended up dropping. And so then night fell at about halfway, and was doing very well until the trail is mostly, it's kind of like the Catamount Trail of Quebec, just more remote. I don't know if people are familiar, but it's basically cut for ski touring. And so in the second half, probably 65K to 105K, there was this long stretch, long uphill, I should say, that wasn't very steep, but also was extremely technical. And I know a lot of people struggled there, but my headlamp started fading, and I didn't really know, I didn't really recognize it at first. So then I really hit a low, with the light, really hit a low patch. And I still thought, I didn't know that the other two had dropped or what was going on behind me. And so I thought I was being chased pretty close. So I went through basically that top 8 station after that at 105K. I actually got my phone out and played some, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards. And replace the battery pack on my headlamp. And those two things really just lit the fire under me because I rallied very, 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 very hard. and finished strong. One came in at like almost 3:40 in the morning, I think. This amazing race finish. Like, it's truly a special race. Highly recommend. 8 stations are great. Organization was great. So I'm pretty stoked with you know, with that result, with the trip, with the support, and I don't know exactly where this puts me, you know, ITRA score, UTMB score, what have you now, but I am pretty excited for the future races and stuff. So yeah, that's about it. So if you ever get a chance to go to upstate Quebec, I truly, yeah, I couldn't recommend it more. So cheers.
All right, so nice work, David. I look forward to getting out on a run with you here soon. And that's going to wrap it for this episode. I know it was a long one, but I was stoked to have so many great voices in this mix. A lot of great events just ran. So thanks to you for tuning in. Thanks to you for sharing your own social media pages, liking this video, liking it on YouTube and Facebook. If you take the time to share it on other whatever social media groups you're a part of, I am thankful and grateful for that. To those of you who are supporting in Patreon fashion, I appreciate it. To all of those who reach out with a suggestion for an episode or an update or a highlight, or want to add your own voice into the episode, that would be awesome. And all right, until next week, see ya!